just a second. Okay. So what you'll find is that it will then start becoming more natural in higher pressure situations. Now, here's the thing that I want you to remember. Nothing's going to substitute for your performing well in higher pressure situations than actually putting yourself in high pressure situations and making it work. You will hear me repeat this over and over in this session as well as in other videos. This is very, very similar to mastering and really becoming fluent in a second language. And I'm very, very familiar with that because I'm in that process and have been for a while. So when I go, for example, to my barber, I have to challenge myself to speak Spanish. And the first few times it was really hard and I could barely say anything. But then after a while, the anxiety, the nervousness of speaking Spanish to someone who's a Spanish speaker and understanding what that person was saying starts to decrease, and you start building your confidence, building your fluency. Now, I still have to go learn, I have to practice, right? But then nothing else is going to substitute except for getting out there, using the language, messing up, failing, not understanding, saying the wrong thing, and then fixing it as I go along. So to answer your question, how do you switch into your model mode under pressure? You just have to practice doing it under pressure, right? You, because I worked with you, know how to model extremely well, extremely well. Toastmasters will be great because you'll be under pressure and you'll be under pressure in a different way. You'll be giving a presentation. So this has to do with something that I wanted to bring up. Control. Control. What you want to do is create as many speaking experiences and situations where you're in control. That's why we call it proactive speaking. So whenever I make a phone call now, just out of habit, I always introduce myself. I say, yes, this is Michael Williams. No matter what they say, they might say, hi, this is whatever. How can I help you? I say, this is Michael Williams, and I'm calling about such and such. I might say, yes, how are you doing? This is Michael Williams. So I always introduce myself. I'm being proactive. So if you have a problem introducing yourself, be proactive and you introduce yourself first because you're in control and therefore you're going to feel a little more confident, all right? So speaking well, kind of switching into your model mode, what you want to do is create situations where you're in control and where you're modeling. So there's two elements. You're modeling, but the other one is that you've initiated this. You're in control. So things like Toastmasters, things like finding or creating speaking situations where you can model, but you're in control of it. In a meeting, you may feel like I have to do this as part of my job. So you might feel like you're not in as much control as you actually are. That's why you want to create situations where you are in control, but they're high pressure, and you model, and it becomes natural so that when you're under pressure, you're like, okay, I can do this. I just did this over here with this many people. That's exactly what I did. For many years, I would go out, I'd practice modeling on my own, make audio recordings, go to colleges, go to different places and say, hey, I have a workshop on time management and goal setting I'd like to teach to your students. Some people said no, some said yes. College even hired me as an adjunct professor to teach. So what I did is I was proactive. I went out, I created this presentation where I modeled, and I was able to then become very, very good at speaking in public because I was in control of that situation. But it didn't come to me, it didn't happen. I had to create it. You're simply going to have to do the same thing, right? You're just going to have to create situations where you're in control and you can model. Okay. I hope I answered your question. Let me go a little deeper into switching. Let me just go a little deeper because this is very, very important. You want to hold a picture of your model in your head, in your mind, when you're speaking under pressure. Don't let your mind deviate to the judgment of the audience. You hold a picture of your model. You literally become your model. By becoming your model, I mean you hold a picture and you try to speak like your model would speak in that particular situation. You also focus on transferring your passion, uh, your information, your enthusiasm into the audience. So you don't think, oh, they're looking at me, they're judging me. No, you say, oh, I am transferring information into them, right? I'm giving them this information. I want them to get this. I want to serve them. And you shift your focus away from being judged to, in a sense, you being a judge and you're transferring information. You're able to keep your focus where it needs to be. And that is one, and temporarily on your model, right? You don't have to always focus on your model. Keep the picture of your model in your mind. You pull it up. So you say, how do you switch into the mode? You pull up an image of your model. How do you do that? Well, you can only do that if you've been spending time watching and listening and studying your model, which I know that you have. So by model, I mean to get outside myself and pretend I'm you while speaking. Okay, yeah, I think I'm answering it now. Really, in fact, this is the answer. You have to pull up a picture of your model and keep your mind focused on that. Believe it or not, if you've practiced your content and if you know your content, you really don't have to think as much about the content as you think you do. Right? You've prepared it, you got a good structure, you pull this image up of your model and you keep focusing. You keep focusing on that. And the content will come. The content will come and it'll come smoothly. It's almost inexplicable how this works, but you really don't have to think as hard about the content when you're focusing on speaking like your model, because your speech will be smoother, you'll feel more confident, and you'll be able to think more clearly about your content, okay? It's almost like magic, and it really does work, okay? All right, let me get to some of the other questions. Thank you, Patrick. I'm sure that I'll be revisiting this question again with other people. Miles, presentation speaking style is great. Wait, Jared, hold on. I got to jump up. What are your thoughts on meditation? Is it something you practice? Do you think it can help supplement? Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that you can do to relax yourself, to become centered, to to keep yourself in the moment will dramatically and exponentially enhance your speech. It'll enhance your life, but it'll enhance your speech, because for many people, not all, for many people, one of the issues is anxiety, not feeling relaxed, feeling like you need to rush. And some of this can come from just poor previous speaking experiences. So the anxiety comes back. When you meditate, it helps you to control your breathing, which is, as we know, is critically important. That's why I ask you to do the 777 in the program, and we'll talk about that. 777 to help you with your breathing. Also, when you meditate, it helps you to center your mind, to calm your mind, to be fully present in the moment. While I'm speaking right now, I'm not anticipating what I want to say. I'm not thinking on the word level. I am almost not consciously thinking about what I want to say. I'm allowing, almost in a sense, my subconscious to take the questions, organize them, go find the answers, and help me deliver this naturally, fluently. If there's a particular word I'm looking for, then I might have to think at the word level. But if not, you just get into this flow where you're in the moment, you're fully present, you're listening to what the other person is saying, or if you're the one that's speaking, you're simply focused on delivering the message in the best way possible. You're just thinking about the person, How can I deliver this message? So it's a long answer to meditation. Absolutely, absolutely. One of my clients said that he meditated on a regular basis and it helped him tremendously. Great question, Jared. Miles, my presentation speaking style is great. Voice is clear and loud. Great pacing, just feels natural. But when I try to use presentation style, I'm like, okay, I've definitely heard this a lot. It feels forced and unnatural. I think it even makes people feel uncomfortable. Okay. Very, very good question. And Patrick, yes, okay, because I see that you followed up. Let me know, Patrick, if I answered your question. I think I did, and I'll come back to it if I didn't. But Miles, in terms of your conversation style, here's what I want you to think about. Think about a dial, right? When you are presenting, you go into a mode, right? And let's just say the dial is from 1 to 10. I'm just picking a random number, 1 to 10. So when you're modeling, when you're presenting, you want to crank that baby all the way up to 10. When you're in, let's just say a stand-up presentation, it's all the way up to 10. Let's say you're sitting around a table, then maybe it's an 8 because maybe you're not standing, and maybe it's a meeting, but you're presenting. It's your turn. So you want to be up, pretty high. So maybe it's an 8. Maybe it's just a meeting now, and you're not really presenting, but you have to give some information, and there's other people who's giving information. Then you might want to turn it down to a 6 or a 7 or something like that. You're having a one-on-one conversation. Now you turn it down like to maybe a 5. Never go all the way down to a 1 because that's like no energy, flatlined. So you always want to be modeling, but the number of inflections you use, the height of your inflections, right? The way that you emphasize words, how dramatic you are with your hands, all of that just gets turned down when you're conversing. And it actually is a lot easier than you think. You just have to say, okay, I'm conversing. And rather than speaking like this, I'm going to speak like this, right? I'm still inflecting, but I'm not inflecting like this. I'm still using my hands, but I'm not using my hands like this, right? So I'm still doing all the same things, just not as dramatic, not as much, but I'm still doing the same things. Tell you just a little story. For many years, with my sister, who I grew up with, I obviously used to struggle with my speech. And even after I became adult, just in the last, say 7 to 10 years, I found that I had to work harder when speaking with her. And this was after I was already doing a lot of public speaking and so forth. And the one thing that I wasn't doing is I wasn't allowing myself or being conscious of using my new style, right? I let myself revert back to an older style, not all the way back, but I let myself. Why? Because your brain doesn't want to work hard. It's always looking for patterns. So my brain had this pattern of how I spoke around my sister, how I spoke with my sister, even over the phone. So whenever I would be around her, your brain would go, oh, that's your sister. You speak this way. That is, your identity with your sister is this, even though it had changed some. So what I had to do is say, no, my identity is this. I speak this way all the time. And once I got that, then I was able to speak with my sister without having to work hard, but I was just able to speak with her the same way I spoke with everyone else. And it took a little time to get to that point, but I was able to. I just spoke to her the other day on the phone, and I just noticed that I wasn't working hard. I was speaking to her like I speak with everyone else. Whereas in times past, just again, over the last several years, I would find myself kind of working a little harder, right, to stay smooth. So that is to say, in conversations, you can focus on your model. You just adjust everything down some. Some people say, oh, I can't use it. But trust me, I have so many people who successfully use their modeling speaking style in conversations and in presentations. You just have to understand that it's your responsibility to adjust it. So you don't just go in and say, this is the way I speak when I present, therefore I must speak the same way when I converse. No, you got to say, wait a minute, this is not appropriate for conversations, but I still want to maintain airflow. I still want to be enthusiastic when I speak. I still want to, I still want to model, right? Let me just modify this a little bit. But I don't want to say it doesn't work, it can't work, I can't do it. I got to figure out a way to make it work, because it does work. I just got to make it work. Miles, did I answer your question? If I didn't, come back, ask me to clarify whatever I didn't answer. Okay. Jared, well said. Do you think that most good speakers avoid thinking about judgment from the audience? Absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Absolutely. Get back to that. Yeah, if the better a speaker is, the less they think about and focus on the audience, on the judgment of the audience. So let me back up. You want to think a lot about the audience. You want to be in love with the audience. You want to be in love with the people you're talking to. You want to be there, present, connected, listening to what they're saying, asking them questions, even in a one-on-one conversation, and just focused on, man, okay, how can I get the information I need? How can I give them the information? And here's something else I want you to think about. And I know that some of you are thinking, well, what if I'm just at McDonald's asking for a hamburger? And we'll get to that, right? But here's something else I want you to think about. When you're speaking with people, the more that you want people to leave you thinking, wow, you know what? I really enjoyed speaking to that person. You know what? I feel better when I'm around that person. That person's actually a pretty good conversationalist, actually a pretty good speaker, which doesn't mean you have to speak a lot, right? You listen well, you ask lots of questions. And when you speak, you look the person in the eye, you're fully focused on them, you're taking your time, you're communicating with them, you're connecting with them. You're not spending your time thinking about what they're thinking of you, right? Because as soon as you start to shift to, ooh, I wonder if they like me, I wonder what they're thinking about me, man, you're done. You're done. That's when you start becoming self-conscious. That's when it starts becoming awkward. You don't perform well when you start thinking about what they're thinking of you. If you just focus on transferring your passion, your spirit, your energy into them, and really just being there with them and for them, it changes your whole demeanor. Okay, great question, Jarrett. And the short answer is yes. Good speakers avoid thinking about judgment from. I'm not saying that you never think that, but you immediately shift your mind away from that. Thanks for that. All right, Mohammed. It's really matter to model more of 21 steps to master skill. Can you model step 1 completely? And then I will have your speaking style, facial expressions. Yeah, Mohammed, I want you to make me another video using your name this time. And I would like to share that if possible, because you do such an incredible job. You have, to me, of course, you have an accent, and to you, I probably have an accent. So you have this accent, and it's really cool. And you do such an awesome job with the facial expressions, the rhythm, the hand. It's just almost perfect. So no, you don't have to go completely through the 21 steps. That's just if you get bored. You really want to master one step. And then once you've mastered that, if you want to move on to another step. However, once you've done a couple of steps, you really want to start to create your own presentations, and use your modeling style. Okay, that's really the purpose of modeling. It's not to memorize 21 steps. It's not even to really speak like me. It's to bring out a better speaking you, which modeling will do. So do a couple of steps, maybe 2 or 3 steps, But then start thinking of something you may need to present for school or work. Create your own presentation, something you're passionate about. And make sure when you're doing it, you're modeling. You're in that zone. And Muhammad, I know you can get in that zone. I've seen you. I told you I was just cracking up laughing because it was so darn good. I was like I was looking at a Arabic version of myself, and I almost couldn't watch it. It was so good. So I know that you can do it. Now you want to insert your own content in this speaking style. So that's what I want you to focus on. Maybe you have to do a couple of steps. Did I answer your question? Duke, when I sing, I don't stutter. How can I apply that to my speaking style? All right, Duke. It's an awesome question, man. A lot of people wonder, wow, well, when I sing, I don't stutter. When people sing, they don't stutter. Well, first of all, you're using somewhat of a different part of the brain when you sing. Okay, of course, you're still using your vocal cords and all, and your breathing and all of that, but it's somewhat of a different part of the brain that manages singing. However, the one thing that you can take from singing is this idea of rhythm. Rhythm. Okay, it's the idea of rhythm. And what we mean by that is when you're singing, one of the things you're doing is you're maintaining constant airflow. There's also a rhythm, right? There's a cadence, and there are some other technical words that I can't think of right now when you're singing. So you can transfer that over to your speech. Listen to the way that I'm speaking. Listen to President Obama. Listen to people that speak well. They have a cadence. They have a rhythm, some fast, some slower. It's a cadence. I call it rhythm. There's a rhythm to the way they speak. They inflect. They modulate their voice. They often extend words. They pause, whereas in singing, you do pause, right? So if you can transfer that to your speech, the principles of maintaining airflow while you're speaking, inflecting your words, modulating your words. Remember, you get all of this from modeling. So you don't necessarily have to be thinking about, okay, I got to inflect, I have to extend, I have to articulate, I got to use my, no, just model, and you'll do all those things. That's why I emphasize modeling. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be challenging. That's why this program is effective, because it challenges you to literally create new wiring, new connections in your brains, which is necessarily difficult. The brain is not designed to be changed easily. If it were, we would not be very stable, right? We'd be constantly changing who we are and what we do, how we walk. We wouldn't remember where we're going. We always have to think about it. We'd also have huge heads because of the processing power necessary to constantly be thinking about new things. The brain is very efficient. It wants to turn everything into habit, into pattern, so it doesn't have to think about it, right? So what we're saying is, when you model, you'll get all the stuff, the rhythm and all that, and you don't have to think about the individual things. So back to your question, you can apply singing to speaking by focusing on this principle of speaking with a rhythm, speaking with a rhythm, speaking with a rhythm. Now, obviously, you don't want to speak like that, right? But in a very similar way, you can speak like this, where you have a rhythmic way of speaking. You can get that from modeling. So it's about getting into that rhythm. It's a flow. When you get into a rhythm, what begins to happen is you lose consciousness of words, individual words. You lose consciousness also of speaking. When you get into a rhythm, you're flowing. And once you get there, then what happens is you don't get stuck nearly as much, because you don't see the words coming. You don't anticipate the words. You don't think about speaking. You're communicating. You're transferring, just like I'm doing now. I'm transferring information. Do I have words that I occasionally get stuck on? Absolutely. But I'm not thinking about the words. I'm just speaking, just letting it flow. When you can get to that place, you're going to find your speech is much more fluent. It's much easier. It's much natural. So singing has those elements of rhythm and cadence, modulating, right? And so you want to pull those into your speech. I hope I answered your question. And yes, I'm going to provide a link. Go ahead and give me just a second. You can always visit my website. There are plenty of places there to get in contact with me. But I'm also going to give you a link that you can use. So give me just a moment, please. Patrick, I see you have another question. Muhammad and Patrick, if anyone else has questions, remember this is a question and answer. Okay. Let me find this link. I'm going to post the link in one of the. Something just happened here. Okay, I'll just go to my website. What happened there? I must have logged me out. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and go to my website. I'm going to just respond to you privately. Yes, you can by visiting spro90d.com and click on the Contact Us link. Or do you have a question box in the bottom left? Okay. All right. Let's see. Muhammad, then Patrick. See what we got here. Sometimes you feel very bad with yourself because I think that it didn't do the work of practicing long afternoons, but actually I'm doing the work. But I find that the earlier I do the work in my day, the better I become the rest of the day. So the question is, do I have to get rid of this anxiousness, or is it some kind of useful? Good question. Good question. A little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress is good for you, right? Keeps you kind of moving. But when it begins to interfere with you, then there's a problem. Give me just 1 second. So I take some notes here about something. So a little bit of anxiousness is good, but if you feel like, if you're always feeling like you're not doing what you should do, then that's not useful. You want to stay motivated. If you find that practicing in the morning time is most efficient and effective for you, then you want to practice in the morning time. I have a gentleman that I work with in Australia. He gets up probably 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and we meet, and he does his practices in the morning time. And where he used to work out, and he still works out on the other days, but he practices in the morning. And that will help set the rest of your day. Sometimes in the evening, you're too tired, you don't feel like it. Some of you may have to integrate practices throughout your day. I want you to really listen to the Mona interview. I'm going to post that up here somehow. I want you to listen to that because, if you really want to do this, you're going to find the time. Do it during your breaks. Do it when you're in the car. Do it in the bathroom. Do it when you're cleaning. Do it when you're washing. Do it when you're cooking. You can practice. You can listen. You can model. You can do this all the time if you really want to do it. So, yeah, don't let those feelings of anxiousness interfere. Use a little bit of it to motivate you and to propel you to continue. Okay. So did I answer your question, Muhammad? All right, Patrick, is it on Udemy? No, Duke, it is, yeah, just If you go to this link, this is my home page. I'm going to submit that to you there. Hopefully you got that. Go to my home page, Pro90D, and you'll find a few links there where you can get in touch with me. Udemy is a place where I have courses. I don't post courses there anymore, but so I have all the courses in other, in other places on my website. So my website is the central place to contact me for whatever, which is pro90d.com. Okay, Patrick, when practicing modeling in private, in order to be able to pull up the picture, you switch to models mode before presenting under pressure. What is the best way to practice? Continue doing 21 steps, or just watching and listening to your videos with focused attention to get? For you, Patrick, the best way now is for you to create your own presentations. Periodically go back to one of the 21 steps if you want to, say, move to step 2 and start working on step 2, just to keep you in touch with the model, right? Still continue to spend some time watching and listening, but here's the major difference for you. Create your own presentations now, ones that you're going to have to do for work, and use that speaking style when you're practicing them. That's exactly what you need to do. So and record yourself doing your presentations, and then record yourself doing the 21 steps and say, is it the same? Am I using the same style? It doesn't matter how technical the information is. You can use a very similar style. Then look and say, am I different here than I was in the 21 steps? And obviously there'll be a little different, right? Because one has to do with hope and the other one has to do with the market. But I've seen you do your presentations and you do them well. So work on your own presentations, but make sure when you're doing them, you feel like your model. Record them and practice them over and over. Go back to ones that you've done and continue to do those, so that when you have new presentations, some of the information is going to be different, right? But some of it's going to be the same. And you will have imprinted this new speaking style with your content on your mind, in your brain. All right. So yes, listen. Yes, continue to listen to any. You want to cycle back through this stuff. Yes, watch. But use it. Practice this, the modeling. And I remember you said something about not quite trusting it in your meetings. So I think you have to build trust by just doing it. And I think that my response to you was, what's better, reverting back, maybe getting choppy, maybe not being as smooth, or using your new style and maybe not being as smooth, right? But knowing that eventually you are going to be smooth because you've done it before. You know that you are going to be smoother using the new style if you work at it. So even if you're not as smooth as you'd like using the new style, you will be. But if you revert back to your old style, you know you're going to go downhill, you're going to regress. So you got to remind yourself of that and just do it. Just do it and practice it. Okay. Let's do it. Yes. Patrick, did I answer your question? And if I didn't, come back and help me to focus on what you're trying to get to. Dharmesh, what should our daily practice sessions with Pro90D Focus program consist of? Okay, I'm going to answer this in a couple of ways. Number one, actually, I got some great news. I've been working hard. I plan to probably try to finish up a lot of it this weekend. I do have to do some recording now on an updated version. Let's call this Pro90D 3.0, 3.2 or 3.1, right? And in this version, I have divided it out into weeks, into 12 weeks. And I also have divided it into 5 days. So every week, there are 5 days of activities. Some of the activities are repetitive because this is really about repetition. And you may want to be doing something different every day, but the fact of the matter is you really need to be doing the same thing every single day. But I have mixed it up a little bit, right? So as soon as I can make sure I have all the content, I'll be launching this program on my original site, where I have all of my other courses. I'll be launching it there because it's more secure, and there's just a lot of reasons why I want to put it back where the 2.0 is. So you can still stay in Canvas and still continue to use Canvas, but if you want this week by week version, and it's going to be free to all of you that are currently using the Canvas version, then you'll just need to go ahead, and you may already have a registration with courses.pro90d.com. So to answer your question, something is coming that will give you kind of a regimen, a daily routine. But what do you have right now? In the current Pro90D 3.0 focus, one of the first documents you get to in the modules is something that says, I think it's called a blueprint, immersion blueprint, daily routine, something like that. And essentially, while it doesn't go through every single day, it says this is what you need to do every day. Also, for those of you that have access to the immersion tool, I'm going to be changing the password soon because there are still people accessing it who are no longer members. So I need to change the password. But the immersion tool says do this every day. Listen to one module, listen to Get Started Speaking Easier, passive learning, model this. So it says every day, do this. So you're pretty much going to be going through a very similar routine every single day. It's all about repetition. If you're doing a whole bunch of different stuff every day, then you never really get time to drill down and to embed the specific skills, right, that need to be embedded. That's why it's very repetitive, but that's what it takes. So that first document tells you what to do every day. Beyond that, let me just tell you some of the things you should be doing every day. Affirming, right? You should be affirming every day. In the morning for 2 minutes, in the evening, and throughout the day, but not necessarily for 2 minutes at a time. Throughout the day, you can just take a second and say one affirmation. Sprinkle the affirmations throughout your entire day. Okay, so do affirmations. Why? Because all throughout the day, you're speaking and often you're thinking about not getting stuck. So you want to replace those thoughts with your affirmations. There's going to be a battle. There will be resistance. Expect it, but continue to press your affirmations. Okay, because eventually the other voices that you hear saying you're going to get stuck and you got to do this will begin to quiet down. You can't just do affirmations in the morning. You got to do them all throughout the day. 2 minutes though in the morning or more, but sprinkle them throughout the day. Number 2, learn, right? So it's learn, practice, use, but one of the things that you also want to do is affirm. So the second thing you want to do is learn. How do you do that? Watching something, watching a module, listening to an audio. Every single day you want to be learning something for a period of time until you don't need to do it anymore. Third thing you want to do is practice. There's informal practice and there's formal practice. Formal practice is when you actually are sitting down for however many minutes. I recommend an hour a day. You're watching the video, you're recording yourself, you're practicing, right? That's formal practice. You can do those in 10-minute slots. You can integrate them throughout your day, but it's formal. Informal practices, whenever you open your mouth, is practice time. Whenever you go to talk to somebody, your family, somebody at the store, at McDonald's, at the store, at your job, it's practice time. Look at it like, okay, I'm going to practice. Be proactive. Don't just wait for those things to happen. Actually go out and create situations where you're going to speak. Okay, go out and create situations where you're going to speak and say, I'm going to practice using my new style right now. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Again, think about the language. You want to become fluent in language, then you got to actually be proactive and go out and put yourself in situations where you're going to speak that language. This is the same exact thing. You got to go out, put yourself in situations where you're going to use this new speaking style, focus on your model, and it'll start to work for you. Okay. Did I answer your question? Muhammad, are there degrees? Always have access to video recording. It's very fun. Yes, Patrick, I am recording this. I missed the first 10 minutes or so, but I'm recording this, and yes, I'll send this out to everyone. Are there degrees of pressure that I put myself under while making transitions? So gradually put myself in low pressure, semi-pressure, relatively high, or immediately put yourself in all situations that I don't avoid very high pressure. I'm getting a second terminal. As soon as a bridge, I'm becoming excellent. Yes. Different people do different things. Some people work and they have to do presentations at work. So pretty high pressure. They practice and they go right in and begin to use what they're learning at work, right? So they jump right in because they have to. Other people that maybe you're in a situation where you don't have these super high pressure situations, then you need to create them. So again, you gradually increase it. Some of you will be able to just put yourself right in there and you're okay with failing. And you fail and you say, okay, what didn't I do? Oh, I didn't focus on my model. I actually started thinking about the audience, or I focused on my model, but it was hard to get this. It was hard to get the style. Okay, do I need to practice more? Or do I just need to keep doing this so I can get that style? Again, with the language, I'm sitting in the chair with my barber and I could say, oh, man, I'm having a hard time saying this. Do I need to do something else, or do I just need to keep trying to say it until I become more relaxed? A lot of times I just need to keep trying until I become more relaxed and I master it. So yes, you can gradually do it or you can jump right in. It really is up to you. Okay, so I hope I answered your question there. Jarrett, you see Courses Pro 90D, there's a 2.0. It seems like you have another site as well. I think you just touched on this. Yes. Here's what I'd like for you to do. On courses.pro90d.com, I'm going to try to put the whole thing in here. That's where I have all of my previous courses, basically almost all of my courses, right? And I will also be putting the 3.0 there. It's not there yet, but it will be there very soon. I am currently using a site called Canvas, where the 3.0 is located now. But the redesigned 3.0 will not be there. It'll be on courses.pro90d, which is where I have all my other courses and the 2.0. So you can get into the 3.0 in its current version in Canvas, but just be mindful that the new version will be on courses.pro90d, which has been the platform that I've had stuff. There were just a few things that they were not allowing me to do, and so I looked for other platforms. Keep this in mind. Some of you will see that I've moved my courses around, tried different things. Don't be afraid of trying different things and failing. I've tried so many things, so many different platforms, and I apologize to a degree, but it's necessary for me to find the right one, which I think I have now. So sometimes you have to do that. The same thing with your speech. You got to try stuff. Keep trying stuff. You eventually are going to find, it's going to click. So to answer your question, yes, courses.pro90d, that's the place where you want to go to get all of my courses. You want to go to pro90d.com, because that's where you can get in contact with me. That's where everything else is. Now, I have another site called Present with Power, but generally I'm linking to there from Pro90D. So pro90d.com is where you want to go. Courses.pro90d, which there's a link to it from Pro90D, right? There's a link to it. That's where you want to go to get my courses. You won't see the 3.0 there yet, but it's coming. I'm actually going to start moving stuff over and building it up this weekend. Hope I answered your question. Yes, Patrick, you will have access to this video. All right. We're going to be wrapping it up. I'm just going to give you maybe 5 more minutes or a couple more minutes. It's 12 o'clock now. I answered your question. Good. Okay. Anyone else have questions? Anyone else have any questions at all? I see someone had their hand up, but I don't know if they, who was it? Okay, going to lower the hands. All right, any other questions for me before we wrap this up? Let me just ask you this, kind of hypnosis. Okay, hypnosis can be helpful, but from my experience of people that have tried it, it's not a cure-all, right? You're going to have to put in the work. People have tried all kinds of things, and for a very small percentage, it's helped a little. It's helped in the short term. For some people, it's helped in the long term. But if I were you, I wouldn't bet my money on it helping me long term to completely get. In a sense, what you're doing is you're self-hypnotizing, right? You're practicing self-hypnosis when you do these affirmations. When you visualize, the deeper you go into this, visualizing, affirming, meditating, you're actually hypnotizing yourself on a daily basis, sending these affirmations or these images into your subconscious mind when you're in alpha state. That is a relaxed state of consciousness, which is why we ask you to do affirmations in the morning when you're waking up. You're coming out of deep sleep, like delta, gamma, delta into alpha, where you're relaxed, and then beta is your awakened state. So you want to be relaxed when you're doing the affirmations, but you can do the affirmations throughout the day when you're in beta as well, okay? To counteract the other negative self-talk and thoughts that you have. So did I answer your question? Okay. If anyone is interested or has additional questions for me, please feel free to submit them. You should receive a follow-up email, or again, go to my website, and there's a little box that says, do you have questions? Submit your questions there. I'll do my best to answer them by answering them individually or creating an audio or video or something. Please, if you're taking the courses, go through the content. Most of the answers are there. Some of them you may not want to hear because it may require you to work hard. It may require you to repeat doing some of the same things over. It may challenge some of your beliefs about slowing down. And I'm not talking about speaking like a robot or speaking slow like this. When I say slow down, I'm talking about dynamic speech, whereas you speak slow sometimes, and then sometimes you speed it up. But it's this whole idea of relaxing and slowing everything down. You don't have to respond right now. You don't have to rush through what you're saying. You don't have to rush to speak. You can take your time. That's what I'm talking about. So don't think I'm saying speaking monotone, speaking like a robot. I'm not saying that. Okay. So some of the answers are going to be in there, and you might find that you have some resistance to them. Oh, I don't really want to do that. If you do, check that. Go, okay, I don't really want to speak this way, or I really don't want to change my speaking style. If that's the case, then you want to say, aha, that's something that's holding me back. Or if you're afraid, why am I not? Because if this doesn't work, then what? Then you want to check that. Okay, one more question, then we'll wrap it up. So can I meditate myself with hypnosis videos on YouTube, say affirmations, really relax manner? I'm not going to say it'd be better, but yes, you can practice hypnosis by yourself. You just want to make sure you don't give yourself any, but actually, true hypnosis, you won't do anything that you really don't want to do, right? They can't make you do anything you don't truly allow them to do. If someone is, it's called hetero hypnosis. There's auto hypnosis and there's hetero. Hetero is when someone else does it. Auto is when you do it to yourself. So yes, you can do it by yourself. All right. I want to thank everyone for attending today. I'll be attempting to do these once a month, bring your questions. Listen to this video, listen for your answers, challenge yourself. Remember, the answers to your questions and the solutions to your challenges are often found in the things that you don't really want to do, right? Let me say that again. The answers to your questions, the solutions to your challenges are often found in the things that you don't want to do. And they're often found in information you already have that you already know. So think, go back, watch and listen to the whole thing, listen to it multiple times because you're going to miss stuff. You're not going to be ready for certain things. And then if there's something that challenges you, that's probably the very thing that will provide you the solution that you need. Okay? Thank you very much again. Anyone interested in moving forward and taking the self-study or doing the coaching, if you really want to just step forward and go, boom, I want to do this thing as efficiently and as effectively as possible, definitely the coaching is the way to go. You know how to get in contact with me on my site. But thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you all later.